Hi, everybody, and welcome. It is Friday, April 17th. Glad to have you here. And just to give you a personal progress report, I wrote down the numbers of all the boxes that I packed, and all those X's are what's been opened up. Not all put away, but at least sorted to where it needs to go. So, Dr. Rashid Buttar, I have not heard of him. I've heard of Dr. Shiva. Where did you find that, MM? That sounds interesting. Anyhow, I was listening to some interesting things this morning. I heard an interview with a former woman involved in witchcraft and Wicca. And so there was a program on their high holy days among the Satanist crowd. And speaking of crowdsource the truth. I didn't turn my volume off. Sorry about that. So Jason's live too. What's he doing? Oh, ghost town in New York again. News Network. I'm not sure what. Oh, you talking with? Was that with Gary? Oh, is that what you sent me, Chris? The I didn't get a chance to look at it yet. I didn't open my phone text message until just a little bit ago. Thanks, Randy. Just throwing it on top of the clip so that it'll be out of my. Try to keep it out of my hair and my eyes. Tomorrow's April 18th, and with numerology being really important to people involved in the occult, you got April is 4, and then 18 is 4 plus 1 plus 8. That's the number 13, which is a very, very significant number for them. And this weekend is one of their blood. I look rested, boy. I feel like I could sleep all day. Thank you, Josephine. This is one of the weekends that they do bloodletting and sacrifice involved with a lot of fire. So, the witches and people involved in Satanism, they are committed to prayer and their ritualistic things. They laugh at the church for our claim to be holy and our claim to be prayer warriors and how little prayer we actually do. I take that as a challenge, and I'll throw down the gauntlet and up my game again. And I have found, since I've been in this house, it felt clean when I walked in, which felt really good. And my desire to be on YouTube so much has dissipated, and I really have had a desire to go back to be spending more time in prayer and praise. And it's interesting that they want to reopen the country May 1st, because May 1st is Beltane, which is halfway between the spring and summer solstice. Hi, Elly, welcome.
Hi.
And May 1st is a very significant day with Freemasons and the occult of all kinds. And it's interesting that they want to use that as a day to reopen the country. There's so much going on. I got a call again from a guy who had told me the other day that just look at the numbers. If you know anything about numerology and so on, the numbers seem to add up to 9 and 11 and 6 and multiples of that, 33. And of course, this is the weekend that's the anniversary of the Waco, where they had the bloodletting and death of the children with David Koresh. And and there was a lot of talk in that show I watched this morning about energy. We all have frequencies, and we respond to frequencies. We're all concerned about the frequency with the 5G, but like I have talked many times recently about anger and especially fear, giving room to the devil, it increases fear, of course, is the underlying current to anger. And so if you're feeling angry, stop and think about what you're really afraid of. Um, it is giving energy to the devil and to the demons and to those involved in the occult and witchcraft. And so we have to be very careful about those emotions. And in contrast, it's very interesting that they don't want us touching one another. We're to keep social distancing. We're not allowed to shake hands. We're not allowed to give a hug. We're not allowed to be close. They even want mothers distancing from their babies, which is going to cause all kinds of mental illness. That is not healthy. Touch is healing, and touch will give us healing energy. And that is the good side of energy. And they don't want that. They want death. They want blood, and they want the negative energy. And it's interesting to watch how occultic this what do I call it? The whole what's going on with their claiming this virus is so bad, and yet the numbers, when you see lists of things that cause death around the world, this is so far down the list. It's crazy. Um, we need to be very careful about our day-to-day attitude and not give room to the devil, as I've said many, many times. Um, we need not to be ignorant of the Satan's devices. And a book that came out, oh man, I can't remember how many decades ago, 40 years ago, Frank Peretti's books, This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness. Now, we had those books, but I never got a chance to read them. And so I'm hoping if and when the library here is open, that I'm hoping they'll have those books. There is a website that lists the occult calendar, and Groundhog Day is one of an Illuminati sacrifice night. Of course, the night, the 21st, 22nd of March, June, September, December, when you've got the solstice, the changing of the seasons, those are also Illuminati human sacrifice nights. All Fool's Day is 13 weeks after New Year's Day. And this weekend, you've got blood sacrifices to the beast with fire. And May 1st being Beltane, which is the highest day of the Druid witch calendar. October 31st, Halloween, is the highest holy day for the Illuminati. And then Beltane, May 1st, is the second most sacred holiday for Illuminati. And it always requires a human sacrifice. And the younger the sacrifice, the younger the human, the better. And July 4th is 13 days after the season changes in June. And 66 days after April 30th, May 1st, which is the Beltane issue. They want to cause us mental anguish. That is their goal, because if they can encourage anguish and fear and anger, then they're stirring up more of the negative energy that empowers them for the things they want to do. There's a man called Marquis, Marquis, who wrote a book called America's Occult Holidays. And so I think some of this list of dates that I'm giving you came out of his book. A lot of times the satanic rituals involve fire, just like we saw with the sacrifices to Moloch. That was where they would put a baby inside the belly of Moloch. It was made out of iron, and then they would put a fire in there, and the baby screaming, they had an opening for the mouth, and so the screaming baby, as it burnt to death, would just create even more horror. And of course, this weekend is an anniversary of David Koresh in Waco. You've got fire and trauma and sacrifice of children happening there. The Oklahoma City bombing, which involved a lot of deaths of children with the preschool they had there. And the Boston bombing was the Boston Marathon bombing was April 15th, but that is so that was discussed in that show this morning, and they were saying that was helping to infuse more energy before the sacrifices that would come on the 19th. Richie from Boston has a show called Setting America Up for Passover Ritual, and he talks about the spiritual energy with various events. And of course, we know that the abortion clinics are all about producing blood. And, you know, I have shared before here that the blood ritual of abortion, there are Satanists that actually go into abortion clinics in the morning before they open up and do satanic rituals. And just to put their, I was going to say blessing, but no, Satan doesn't give a blessing. Put their curses on what is going to happen for the day. And it's interesting to look at Genesis 3:15, where God cursed the serpent and said that he would be on his belly and eat dust. And when man was made from dust, and when he dies, you know, he goes back to dust. And when a man dies, the energy in his body is released. And then there's Matthew 16, where Jesus and his disciples, after they had fed the 5,000 and the 4,000, they went into Caesarea. And Caesarea is known as the gate of hell. It is a portal that's in the world where it's there at Mount Hermon. And what Jesus did when he went in there, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say I am?" And some said Elias or Elijah and Isaiah and Jeremiah. You know, people are thinking you're just one of the prophets. And he said, "Okay, that's what people think. Who do you think I am?" And Peter said, "You're the Christ, the Son of the living God." Now he was charged not to tell anybody yet until all things had been fulfilled. But he said, "You are Peter. Your name was Simon, but you are now Peter, which means the rock. And on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell," as in Caesarea, "the gates of hell will not prevail against it." But you know, when I think of how much witchcraft and how many witches are infiltrating the churches, and how blocked we are in power to, you know, I think so often about the scripture verse where Paul said that I may know him and the power of his resurrection. I mean, of course, it also says, and fellowship of suffering with the saints. You know, we should be standing with our suffering brothers and sisters in Christ, remembering those that are in chains and praying for them. And there's so much we need to be in prayer about. And we're just, I feel sometimes like we're so cold in what we should be doing. We should be hot for the Lord with the power of the resurrection. And I don't see that very often, not very much. Sherry, thanks for sharing that about Russ Dizdar. You know, a lot of the portals are being opened, and we are seeing things coming from the heavens, and we're seeing things coming from inside the earth. And you know, Russ Dizdar's book, The Black Awakening, has a lot of insight into what the occult does. He has rescued so many children out of sex slavery and the occult and satanic groups. And he's got a whole series of free on his website, Shatter the Darkness. He's got a whole series of classes that you can take for free, hours and hours and hours. Anyhow, back to Caesarea and the gates of hell. You know, when Peter spoke, "You are the Christ," he was speaking truth. And the way to conquer the darkness is with truth. And truth is, of course, that Jesus is the Son of God. And Jesus is God, and the part of the resurrection which defeated Satan, we need to embrace that, because Satan has no authority over truth. And the interesting thing is, talking about portals, is Jesus said, I am the door. And, is it any wonder that one of the men in the world who's working so hard to usher in the power of the Antichrist in the end times is Bill Gates? You know how Satan copies everything? Jesus is the door, and he's using a man named Gates to bring in this mark of the beast issue. Oh my goodness. Anyhow, I suggest you do what I have done. Anoint the threshold, the entrance into your home, every one of them. Anoint the door. And of course, if you do, left, right, and top, and then the threshold, you have made the sign of the cross over the entrance to your home. So I did the doorknobs and I did the threshold, but I need to go back out and do the top and the left and right side as well. Thanks, Gloria. I'm going to look at that Dr. Rashid Buttar after him. Oh, he has Facebook videos as well as YouTube? Fantastic. Then I can look him up on Facebook as well. Let me grab a pen and write that down. And the last comment that I heard this morning on the show I was watching was talking about, we worship an invisible God. And who's more powerful, our invisible God or this invisible virus? So, pay attention to where the power really is. And yeah, Linda, Gates right in front of us. I mean, the powers of hell aren't hiding anything anymore. They think their time has come, and so they have become very blatant and obvious with what they are doing. Satan can't do anything without hinting at it or letting people know. And God doesn't do anything without letting the prophets know ahead of time as well. So that's a spiritual principle, that when something's going to happen, you've got to at least give a hint at it. Can't just do it in secret. So, all right, that's what I had. So that's awesome, Gloria. God bless you all. And I just, again, thank you for the conversation in the chat, because I agree, Sherry, about the opening of portals throughout the world that Steve Quayle has talked about. And I want to say again how proud I am of all of you, how much you know, how you interact with one another, and the kindness and everything. It just, God wants to deliver us from evil, and he has the power over disease. And so I tried about 3 times to get hold of Larry yesterday, and I finally got a recording. And so I don't know if he's been moved and nobody's in the room where he was. I just have no idea. I have no idea. But I haven't tried today yet. Usually the better time to get him is later in the day. So I'll just keep trying and let you know. And being much in prayer, you guys. Anoint your home with olive oil. If you've got some, take whatever oil. If you don't have anything but water, then just say, Lord, in Jesus' name, I use this. But olive oil is the best if you've got it. And be much in prayer this weekend. This is a big satanic holiday weekend. So, or ritual weekend. I don't know about holiday or holy day, but it's a ritual weekend. So be in prayer, folks. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, that is God calling you to pray and to take authority over the powers of evil. So, all right, Elly, it's your turn.
Wow, I was like all ready to celebrate. Now I'm thinking kind of bummed.
Look, if you're celebrating the Lord, it's a counteract, it's a contradiction. So it'll
yeah, I'm rejoicing. I'm celebrating. I'm, oh my goodness. But, you're right about the truth. That was a big thing in my show this morning on the deception of our media. And, I was reminding everybody that just over the past 4 years, the Democrats, as well as the media together, has just lied and lied and lied. And the thing is Trump always prevails. Trump always wins, and we always rejoice at the end. And I was warning them on the alternative media now that has even started deceiving people. And it's so important just to tell the truth, and so many alternative media has led a lot of people astray on things that was going to happen that didn't happen. And, I was basically going over that. But yeah, truth, because every time you lie, you got to realize, boy, that devil's just on your back, just chewing away. And the more you lie, the more it releases the negativity into your life. It's just easier to tell the truth. And they always say it's hard to keep your lies straight anyway. So, wow. Anyway, we're finding out from a lot of it, investigations. Even Trump today has said, we're going to look into if it came from these labs. Faith is proven with action, Mary Ellen. So,
and that's why the truth is so important, but that's also why it is so important to be in prayer and to praise the Lord. And there are times when life is so tough, that is so hard to give thanks in everything. We've got a member of our group that has her best friend died, and it's hard. It's hard on both. It's hard. They have a close knit group there with a lot of interaction, and this death has hit hard. And yet, no matter what we're going through, we're to say thank you and praise the Lord. And that's tough at times like that. And believe me, I've had things in my life that has just made it so hard. And yet there's a scripture in the Psalms that says we bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. And God inhabits the praise of his people. So if praising God is a sacrifice to you, it becomes an act of worship. So do it because you're going to be obedient to God, even if you don't feel like it. Let your actions change your attitude. Absolutely, Sherry. The closer we are to the Lord, the more Satan attacks. Absolutely.
But yeah, we got it. And even the pastors that are coming forward with deception. And, that was even in the revelation of the churches, he was definitely not happy with. And we're living in a day that even preachers and those that claim they got the Lord in their heart, they have been proven to be liars and backstabbers. But God deals with those people in their own little way. They're probably very lonely people on the inside. And the more you lie and the more you backstab, just seeing people that has been around me, they just end up so miserable. And they'll say they're the biggest Christians, and at the same time, you just can't believe what comes out of their mouth. And they're the biggest preachers. We just, in the last days, it's time to present the truth, or you will have darkness around you. So anyway, back to China. Boy, Mary Ellen, you're going to love all this. Well, I do. I'm all happy about it because I busted the story pretty much close to the time Brett Barn and Federalist did to you guys. And so when it came out, our team is just exploding with happiness on this, that we were able to get this out. And, it was the virology lab in Wuhan. And the thing they found out when I told you guys it came from there, that their tech had gotten it. They ended up taking that head doctor and they locked him up. He died of the virus. Anybody that had anything to do with the knowledge of it's been locked up. Um, you know, then what we are finding out is, and this was reported late last night, and I was like, just going crazy. I couldn't even sleep. I couldn't wait to tell everybody that what they had done is they had blocked flights from Wuhan into China. No one was allowed to leave Wuhan. Anybody that it was in there in that vicinity, but they did allow international flights. And I think this is what really angers Trump right now, because he wants to investigate this. And this is, this got to him probably yesterday or even before. I would be fit to be tied, because that means they kept their people safe, and they they let everybody do international flights. And because of it, look at New York. New York is big. And the other thing was, it also came out with the same info that the same lab is the one that had the Ebola virus. And the same thing happened. It got loose. They had quite a few techs that came down with it. They didn't tell anybody. They closed it down. And the next thing we knew, we had an explosion in Africa with it. So now we're looking not only at, and SARS even, we're finding out. So Ebola, SARS, maybe even the bird flu, they're being connected to this lab. And they're saying, well, they were, like I said yesterday, they're just trying to come up with a virus. But now more and more of the facts and info are coming out that this is biological warfare. And not to mention, the World Health Organization didn't even feel Ebola was worth notifying the rest of the world on, because they didn't think it was going to be that big of a virus. And, so then they came out this morning. China came out this morning and said, oops, we found like thousands, lots of thousands is what they said, of more cases that were dead. And they made a mistake in their numbers. So really their numbers are way, 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 way higher, because they found lots. And they won't know how many lots and thousands for a while. And they're just being really secretive about it. And they said, but it could be that, between all these viruses that's happened over the last few years, it's like killed maybe 50% of our people.
China is saying that?
Yes, 50%.
But they supposedly had no cases in Shanghai or Beijing.
No, I'm talking Wuhan, Mary Ellen, in Wuhan.
I know, but it's interesting that they have no cases in Beijing or Shanghai. How would they do that?
They closed Wuhan off every time these viruses hit. And that's what they did this last time with this one. And why they want to kill the people in Wuhan, I don't know. But this is just, I bet this is blowing our State Department and the Justice, everybody in government. It's just, their heads are exploding at this point, because they did this to their own people first. And, with the overcrowding of China, we wouldn't even notice if they killed a whole bunch of people and moved more into Wuhan. And this is sad. They have been about euthanasia for a very long time. And someone told me this sounds like the, oh my goodness, and someone in here is going to know, the Georgia Guidestones. I've heard that like quite a bit from a few people I know, that it's something is written there that sounds like what they're doing.
Well, the number one principle on the Georgia Guidestones is there shouldn't be more than 500 million people in the whole world. Yeah. I mean, that means killing 7 million people, 7 billion people.
But when they were showing pictures of Wuhan early on, it just didn't seem like China. It just didn't seem very crowded to me, and that was odd. Now, we're all going to have to look into this, and our government's going to have to look at them to see if they've even, done like international crimes on this. Not only, but the Ebola alone, if that would have got loose here, we were like so protective over what 2 doctors we brought back, and everybody was scared about that. This is something they could have unleashed on us, and I guess they were looking for something worse. That's just, the whole thing is scary. But yeah, they're saying that lots and lots of their people are coming up missing. But then they're saying, but there's thousands and thousands and lots that are dead from this virus now. They, made a mistake. And, thank goodness that we put a stop to it. And, even Asia, they have gotten some serious different flus over there. And not to mention, China even blamed the wet markets on this. And when they went and looked, they found very few bats. The bats were in the restaurants. But for the most part, they are now looking at maybe that the bats that were found originally weren't planted or given to sell, and only to make it look like the wet markets actually had these bats. And we need to look at Biden, Kerry, Bloomberg, all these people that got stuff going on over there in China, and they have been doing this for decades. Especially Bloomberg, because and I keep saying it because sometimes these people say stuff and it makes no sense, and then I'll hear something later and it's like, oh my gosh. And Bloomberg said that it really didn't bug him about old people dying. And, that just shocked everybody. And look, he is part of a lot of the labs and pharmaceuticals going on over in China. And he's on a lot of them boards and CEOs, and they all are, though. They just go country to country. That's something I've been doing in my corruption files on Friday nights, that I'm teaching everybody how these politicians will destroy a country, move in, and then they use thugs or a dictator to move most of the people out, and then they take over and get the resources, whether it's diamonds or gold or gas, oil. And then they got Bill Gates just tagging along with them with the money. And what I'm seeing is they're starting to build labs. And I was concerned when the lab went up with the Clintons. But now we are even looking at maybe one in Haiti. And I'm watching it so close because Hillary Clinton's been there. And in between Puerto Rico and Haiti, she was there for a while. And there is rumors that they want to start a lab there to be able to make pharmaceutical medicines with Bill Gates to maybe sell to the United States. And no. I'm just, I don't want to take nothing from Bill Gates. Then there's the New Jersey nursing home. Have you heard on that, Mary Ellen? They found all them bodies.
Where, what?
A New Jersey nursing home had 17 bodies stored in a makeshift morgue. And, at first, when I heard it, I kind of overlooked it because, they were telling everybody not to let no bodies go due to, the virus. And they were kind of holding on to it. That's the rumors I was getting out when I was looking for where the bodies, where all these thousands and thousands of bodies going. And then there was rumors that around Hart Island was having movement, and I couldn't verify it. But then, they had this happen, and, it's like, okay, maybe they were just holding on to it for the virus thing. Well, the only problem with that, this nursing home didn't report it, that they had all these people die. And see, now there's something wrong there. You know, that's when it goes, something's wrong, because they should have been notifying the county coroner on the death so they could be recorded. According to the county and the city itself and the coroner for the state, nothing was reported out of this. They just had them there. So I'm not sure if, you know, until the coroner gets in, they're going to investigate it thoroughly. But, you know, until we find out, there could have been all 17 killed. You know, we don't know. Yeah. Donald, I like that one. I'd like to know if there are really thousands of bodies at this point, to many lies and deception. And I sent them nurses just looking at cemeteries. And I'm like, see if there's fresh diggings. And you know, Mary Ellen, I did the haunted house for many years, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm doing haunted house right now. Fresh diggings. Go look, go look. We didn't find any. There's very little, and that's what don't make sense. And it's so hard to do it for any other state because, you know, New York City has pretty much got everything right there. Some people, like here, Mary Ellen, I would never be able to go to all of the cemeteries. There's just too many of them here. You know, there's little ones, there's old ones, there's, you know, there's a massive amount. And, you know, who knows? Who knows what happened to these poor people in the nursing homes?
Well, I've heard people complaining today. Where are the new graves in the cemetery?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was my question. Well, mine was, where are they putting the dead bodies? You know, because you can only fit so many, and we're talking thousands. And then they said they had a refrigerator truck that was outside the morgue tent. Well, of course, I'm nosy, so I sent one of the ladies that I know that's got a mind like mine, and she went and looked, and the day that she was there, there was no one in the morgue tent. And they happened to open up the refrigerator truck, and they pulled diapers out. There was no bodies in there. And why was diapers in there? You know, and of course she just didn't want to get caught and left. But so there's no bodies there either. So there was, you know, we couldn't get to the morgue. You get caught doing that. That's deep basement stuff. And that's where all your maintenance people are usually, in the hospital. So you can't really go snooping around the morgue. You know, I've had in the past somebody that sneaked into, and I'm going to say whether it was California or here or in between, or that was able to get into a medical sciences hospital and go into their science department where they have the jars. And I tell you what, the creepy things that I was told, you would think that we caught some aliens. There was like two-headed and cyclops and 6 fingers, big, really super big heads with very little body, or vice versa.
Where was it?
I can't tell you. It was a friend of mine that got to sneak into, and this was a long time ago, that worked at the hospital in housekeeping. And she was able to, like, went by the door and she said, well, you know, me and you were like curiosity killed the cat. So she went inside and she was surprised the door opened. And she started looking, and there's these jars of, she said, maybe embryos. She wasn't sure, because there was like monkeys and stuff in jars too, and different, you know, cats. But there was babies with like one eye in the middle of their head. And, you know, I had to get on her and say, no, you're just lying. And she said, no, these were, she said, it gave her nightmares. And she said she could never go back there again. She never could go in that part of the hospital because it would just freak her out. But, 6 fingers, she said, head's too big for the body, a body too big for the head, 2 heads, like I guess a Siamese twin embryo. There, and Chris knows, when you talk some of the Nephilim and the giants, they had, 6 fingers, 6 toes. The giants did. And, that's the first thing I thought of. And then now she won't even go back. Anyway, to get, let's go back to, let's not be icky. What I've been able to find out with my nurses, my spy nurses, they like being called that now. ICU and CCU across all these different states they belong to is now down 15%. Now, I did check it with the numbers with the CDC, and they were spot on. And we have 558,000 people that have recovered now. This can be beat. That's a big number. And what I'm telling a lot of my viewers is, let's not look at the deaths. Let's look at recovery. Because, we got opened up today. Some of the states are free to walk. We do here, Mary Ellen. You can see it. We're not really all bogged down and locked up here. There's still a lot of people moving around Conway. But we just got to be very, very careful. And, the masks, the gloves. And I think we can even start the movies, the sporting events. I really think we can do it if we all would just agree to it. Of course, we're going to have those that are young and restless and want to gather in more than 10. Did you see all of it yesterday, Mary Ellen, all the phases? I think Arkansas.
What I saw that was that they're still not allowing any visits to hospitals and nursing homes. And, that the people in the nursing home need touch. They need attention, and they're being denied it. And it's like infants, at the end of life, you're going. I watched my dad as he aged. His mental age regressed.
But Mary Ellen, that is only for the bad states, the hard states right now. They don't do that here.
The list I saw was federal.
Okay, yeah, that is general. But here in Arkansas, they're able to see their family members. It's happening.
Oh, they opened it back up to family here?
It never was closed down. Our state was never closed.
Yes, it was. Elly was not allowed to visit Larry anymore.
At one point, that's when they had their highest levels in Little Rock, when we had 10. It's now, there's I think maybe 5. And the CHDC and ILS and the nursing homes here in Conway, their families allowed to see them. They just have to stand, they're saying 10 feet away. The only ones allowed any closer, is the nurses or the caretakers. But Mary Ellen, this ain't gonna last. We got to rejoice. We can't doom and gloom on this. Our loved ones will be there in a few months. And we got to open up the country. If the Democrats had it their way, we're going to go till there's nobody left. And if we don't keep pressure on these nursing homes and places like CHDC here, which is homes for the handicapped and the mentally ill, and they need it just as much too. But we cannot, if we speed into this, we won't never get into those nursing homes or the hospitals. They're just going to keep everybody out. But what I'm hearing with the first phase is, yeah, they're going to lock up the nursing homes. I feel they're at the second phase. We should be able to get into the nursing homes again. The problem is they're very, very Their immune system is just nothing. It's like mine. And we can't kill somebody's grandma and grandpa just because we want to hug them so bad. We have to just wait. It's like Easter. We all wanted to be together for Easter. We all wanted to go to church. But that's just one Easter. There's a good possibility if we do this right and we work with these nursing homes, we will spend Christmas together. The holidays will be back. And, we just have to, instead of fighting against the system, we need to look at working the system. And if keep on those nursing homes, if you got old folks, your grandparents or your parents, keep checking in and saying, we need to get their numbers down. Because once the nursing home numbers start coming down, you're going to see we're going to get in and quick. This wasn't as bad as they thought. And right now we should just be like, I think I'm going to go out and buy champagne on this. Because this is great news. We were being told September or maybe all summer. No, he opened the doors today for a lot of states or a lot of counties. Granted, it might not be our state, your state, but it's a start. We got 15 days to bring our numbers down. And once you bring your numbers down, you go to phase 2, he said. Phase 2, that's 50 people, Mary Ellen, that we could be around. And then phase 3 is even, I think, almost 100, and if we're going to go to that point, we can get grandma and grandpa out. We just have to work on it. But unfortunately, like New York, Louisiana, they're going to be longer. They might be till September. We just don't know. But we have to rejoice. And this is God given to us. Because look at the stock market right today. The stock market zoomed. Just like I said it would, Mary Ellen. It's gone crazy. And it can only go up. The nursing home. Yeah, look at what Gloria B said. They took their mom out. Why not? You have every right to take your parents out. If you have to, you can't really deal with them because they're very hard. It's not going to be a long hard. We just need to either take them out, and if they have got the virus, leave them in. We'll know in 15 days. This thing only goes 15-day cycles. And if these nursing homes are free and clear, it's like CHDC, ILS, and I believe 2 nursing homes here that I called on, there's no virus. And if we can go 15 days, go to phase 2, which is the 50 people. There is a good possibility we'll be able to see all of the older people here. Yeah, and we can do the restaurants and sit apart. It's like I said, we could, if the people would just do this phase like Trump wants, we should be able to even go to ball games and movies and the theater and start moving back into normal life. Sit 3 to 6 chairs down at the movie theater. And and once they get it full like that, then start the movie. You don't have to see the movie right then and there. You can always wait. We really, really have to work with Trump to bring our country back. It's us, the patriots, that's got to do it. And Mary Ellen, you know what? We get to vote. We get to walk in and vote in November. We kept them from doing this mail thing. And I had even had a story today that they had caught, let me see, they had caught California secretary confirmed yesterday. He's Alex Padilla, confirmed that double voting by mail took place on Super Tuesday, March 3rd. This is in California. Double voting came up on the majority. The majority being Democrats They found double votes that had been duplicate ballots that were found, like 90% of the mail-in ballots. The county elections offices caught duplicating voting records also. And the other thing was when they tallied the votes, they found some officials had added the votes. So we found duplicates. They found doubles and triples of people's votes that went through the mail. They found voter records that had been doubled, and these are all Democrats. The majority being Democrats is what it said. Then when they were tallied, they added to it. And this is a state representative out of California for their vote. And now he's warning that, we are not safe. We are not safe by voting through the mail. We must be able to vote by walking in November. So, I mean, look at all those votes that they had. And if you look at, I wish I had time to go back and find out what March 3rd was for California, because they're talking 3/4 of the vote were wrong. And if that's the case, Trump like aced it out there. He took over. So we have to get this country back, because look at what we just discovered. And even Tom Fenton said, I believe it was Illinois that he had went back to, and he was finding the same thing. Their mail-in votes had been doubled and tripled. He also found defective voting machines. He also found doubles and triplicates of voter registrations. So, they're starting this again. And, it's not safe. Definitely not safe. I agree with Trump to mail your votes. It's just not safe. And I have quite a few ladies in my group that I do before I do this show. And I warned them. They said, "Oh, well, I always do it. I always feel safe." And I was like, "But your name is being hijacked. You're being turned into a Republican, and then you're tripled." And she said, "Well, I just don't like going in. I don't like having to dress up and go vote. So I don't know." Yeah, Glory be seen it. Yes, yes. Yep. See, I'm glad you've seen it. See, I got this info through a friend that works out of the Capitol in Sacramento. Um, yeah, I mean it's going on all over the place, and now what's really amazing is now we have states that are Democrats even having Tom Fenton go back in and relook. There are the Democrats I call the conservative Democrats that want to play fair. There really are. But then we got the liberals that are just packing these votes. So, but I know we're close to that time, Mary Ellen. I did want to mention something Randy called me on. It's about Apple and tracing our phone devices to where our phones are communicating and turning people in if you've been around someone with the coronavirus. I think this is when she told me about it, and it was right before, she says, I got info for you. And thank you, Randy, for this. This is what they have been trying to do. The Democrats first, they wanted to be able to listen in on our phones and tap us, and they signed that with one of the first FISA things they did to get Trump, and it was to spy on the American people. And then now they were waiting for a way to do our phones like China does, where they could track us and keep track of us and where we're at and what we're doing. Well, now with the virus, they found a way to sneak it in. So now we can be tracked. Now, I'm hoping that Randy's still in there, or if anybody that read that article from Trump, or not Trump, from Fox News, you guys might talk amongst you after we leave, because I think a few have seen it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, and that's scary. That's scary. And now I don't even want a phone. Let's go. What happened to the ones that we plugged into the wall, Mary Ellen? And remember and it was like the dial thing. The push button was great because you could get into your favorite radio station quicker.
Oh, have you seen the videos where high school kids are shown a rotary phone? They don't know how to work it.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like we had I think we had one. No, we had two. We had one in the kitchen and one that roamed with a super long, like 2,000-foot cord that everybody got caught up in. And you would be like yelling for your sister, telephone. And if you know how you got mad at people and you just hung up on them. You want to hear something weird, Mary Ellen? And it might be really shocking to you guys. When we came out to Arkansas in the 80s, right about 85, we decided we're going to go ahead and get a phone put in. Out where we were living, it was pretty rural, but it was all party line. We couldn't get a normal phone. I was like, wow, I have always had like one line since I was born. And that's the way the Clintons had it. If you lived past pretty much Pulaski County and up, or not out of like Conway probably had phones, but all the rural areas around was all party line. And it was like, I don't want to like call somebody and have 50 people sitting there listening to us. Oh my goodness.
All right, guys, that's it. That's a fun one to end on. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the great discussion in the chat. God bless you, and we'll be back on Monday. Don't forget to pray over the weekend against the workers of iniquity with their secret, devastating rituals. Talk to you Monday. God bless. Bye.